Please like and comment on the video below. That will allow me to produce better quality videos and more of them in the future. If you're interested in learning to trade successfully on sports, then why not visit the BetAngel Academy, where we have more detailed videos.
So a feature that we have in BetAngel that you may not have used before or may not completely understand is the Dutching feature. And it was one of the first features that we introduced into BetAngel back in 2006. Now, most people see Dutching in a really simple manner. And of course, with BetAngel, what we've done is we've made sure that we can take it to the next level. We didn't do just normal Dutching, we did much more advanced Dutching than you'd normally be used to. And there are many ways of doing it. When you look at the Dutching tab, you'll see here it says Dutching places only back bets into the market, and that's what Dutching is. Dutching is the process of placing back bets in the market, but they're not like normal back bets. However, the easiest way to explain it is if we go into the Dutching and it says here place with a stake of £100. You can see if we click here, what this would effectively do if we click on place bets right now is this would place a £100 back bet on all currencies. So you can see here this is saying if all currencies goes on to win, we would win £470, but we'd lose 100 if all currencies didn't go on to win. So in that respect, it's very similar to placing a conventional back bet. However, with Dutching, what you can do is you can select more than one runner. So we can say, well, we think all currencies is going to win, but we also think Midnight Tune has a chance of winning, so we'll back that. And then all of a sudden we have a little bit of doubt and we say, well, maybe the next horse will win. And then it's like, well, actually, perhaps this one will win as well. So what we've actually done here is we've backed all four runners. It is a 10-runner race, I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And we've backed 40% of the field. So effectively what we're saying here is we're going to back all four runners and we will get £60 if any of those four runners goes on to win, but we'll lose 100 if any of the other runners goes on to win. So Dutching is a way of covering a range of selections, and the way that it does that is it basically adds up those four runners. You can see that creates a 61% book. We're using a stake of £100 and therefore we'll lose 100 if any of those other runners go on to win, but we make 60 if the front four go on to win. So that's Dutching at its most basic level. However, with BetAngel, we've elevated it to new heights, because what you can also do is you can say, I want to win £20 if any of those front four go on to win. So you can see here it says back for a target profit of 20. And if I just use that as the staking method, can you see what happens now? You can see that what BetAngel has done is it's flipped the whole thing on its head. So rather than saying how much can I win if any of the front four go on to win this race, what I've actually done here is I've said I want to win £20 if any of these front four go on to win. So I could actually say, well, okay, I want to win £100 if any of those front four go on to win. And what BetAngel does now is it flips the equation around and it says this is the profit that we require, and therefore this is the stake that will end up being required to produce that payoff. So we're backing 62% of the book. We're going to earn £100 if any of those front four go on to win this race. However, if they don't, it's going to cost us £165. So if you want to make the bet more certain, what you would do is you would go in and you'd select more runners. So here you can see I've selected 6 of the 10 runners that we have now got. So you can see here that we would have to, we're covering about 80% of the chance of those selections going on to win. We're covering 80% of the book, and we will win £100 if any of those front 6 go on to win this in this particular race, which is probably quite likely. But you can see it's going to cost us a £500 stake. So if none of those 6 go on to win, which probably isn't going to happen, but it will happen eventually if you do it enough times, then you're going to have to call in a £500 loss. So you can see there, you can select 1 runner, 2 runner, as many runners as you like. You can get BetAngel to work out the margin, or you can say this is how much I want to win. You're flipping the whole thing on its head. You're not saying if I back this, how much am I going to win? You're saying I want to win this much if these runners, or any one of these runners, go on to win this particular race. So it's a completely different way of looking at betting. You've turned the whole thing on its head. You're saying I want to win £100 and I'm going to choose 4 of these 10 runners. I'm going to choose 6 of these 10 runners, 5 of these 10 runners, however you want to do it. And you can see obviously the fewer runners you select, the lower your stake will be, but then you're covering less of the book and therefore the chance of a loss is slightly higher. So the balance that you're making here is you're looking at all of the selections in the market and you're saying what chance do I have of that occurring. Now we do go a step further, so say we didn't want to back 6, because if we back 6 you can see we're going to be using a stake of about 500. However, we're not so sure that these two here we really need to include in this particular position. We're sort of saying, well, they could win. We're not very certain that that's going to happen. You'll notice that when I switched to back for a target profit of, another area popped up over here, which was override target profit. So what we can do here, which is really clever, we introduced this feature in BetAngel back in 2006, is we can actually back all of these runners, but we can actually override the profit target figure that we've nominated. So we're saying we want to back for a profit of £100, but if this particular runner comes in, then we think that's unlikely. So I'll tell you what we're going to do is instead we're going to accept that we're not going to make any money at all if that runner comes in. And we could actually say the same for that particular runner. We could actually zero that out. So we could say, okay, we'll win £100 if the front 4 come in, but nothing if those 2 come in. Now, of course, your overall stake has to increase slightly to produce that position, but BetAngel will do all of the complicated calculations for you. You don't have to do any of that. And in fact, you could do clever things like say, well, actually, I'm willing to lose 100 if that runner comes in, or maybe I'll be willing to lose 50 because it's not going to happen. But if it does, it's like, oh, well, fair enough, I'll lose 50 quid. Or maybe you sort of think, well, I think the favourite's got a good chance, so in fact, I want 125 off the favourite if that comes in to win, and I'm going to weight my position towards the front of that. But you can see you can use an infinite amount of complexity to change around the stakes. You can take less or more money depending upon whether one of those runners comes in or not. And of course you would have looked at this race beforehand, you would have had a reason to make these particular selections. You'll decide whether you need to cover it all or not, or whether you want to get it down to 0 or take a small loss or a slightly bigger profit. You can decide all of that based upon whatever your selection criteria is. And then as soon as you've decided that, it's just a question of pressing the place bets button, and it will automatically put those positions into the market. And therefore you would have covered the front 6 runners. You'll make a loss if runner number 6 comes in, but you'll make a varying degree of profit or none at all, depending upon which other runners actually get involved within this particular race and go on to win it. So you can see variable Dutching is a really powerful tool. It's very simple to use, and but it's a feature of the product that very often isn't used. And of course you can do this on any sport as well. So correct score on football or soccer and other markets. You can actually create sort of quite complex positions, not necessarily based upon any particular aspect other than how much you want to win if any one of those selections actually goes on to win. So in football you may want to use it on the correct score market to cover 0-0, 1-1, or however you want to do it, but certainly it's very easy and simple to use on a market like racing.